Um, we might as well start the session going. So, Tony, first of all, thank you for coming on and having a chat with us. I suppose, from my point of view, the first question I'd like to ask you is, how did you find Sheffield when you first got here?
Oh, easy. I come up by train.
Yeah. But what did you think of Sheffield when you got here?
Well, it was peeing down with rain. It was about 8 o'clock at night, dark, February, like early February, wasn't it? John Short met me at the petrol station that's still there on Bramall Lane opposite Archers.
Yeah.
And I remember we were in a taxi, and I don't know why we pulled in there, but then he took me up to Montgomery Road, Nether Edge, to me digs.
Right.
With Paddy Buckley.
All right. Okay. Paddy, was Paddy a good house sharer?
Yeah, he was great, Paddy. We're still great mates. He lives in Scotland now. We used to go on a Friday night to the Dogs because he was a betting man. I always had 2 shillings on, not 2 shillings, 20. What would it have been?
Yeah, 2 bob.
Yeah, it would have been 2 bob. 2 bob on. I remember Zara's Pearl. It always won. And I always got. I was a bit lucky, but I've never been a betting man. But then we used to go down to, after the Dogs, we went to the Silver Blades bowling alley, and then we went home on a Friday night. Nothing serious. It weren't like a night out drinking anyway. I mean, I never touched a drink till I was 21 anyway. So.
Right.
Did you keep in football, Tony, after playing?
Can I what?
No, did Paddy Buckley, did he keep in football after he retired from playing?
Yeah. Well, he always had this bad knee. I mean, he was a little barrel-chested lad, wasn't he? And he very small, and he had this dodgy knee and it didn't last that long. I mean, he was a prolific goal scorer for a winger, very tricky.
Yeah. Didn't
get many games. But yeah, he I don't know where he went after us. Oh yes, I do. He went out to South Africa and played for. I think he might. Would it have been East London or somebody like that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he played over there. Anyway, he wound up in the mid '80s at Gaul Town as manager, and he managed a few clubs. And I went and played for him in '87 for Gaul. Played a few games with. Steve, Paul Cavell. Paul Cavell was up front, if you remember that name. Played for England, semi-pros and that. And Dave, what was his name? Centre half for Sheffield Wednesday. Dave
Cusack.
Who?
Dave Cusack.
Cusack. No. Come on, Chris. You'll know. David.
I'm sorry, my knowledge of Wednesday is very limited.
Yeah, actually, he was a decent footballer. We had quite a good team, actually.
Dave Hickton?
No,
he was up front. He was up front, Keith, wasn't he? Centre forward.
Something ended in Berry. Something ended in Berry, not B-E-R-R-Y, but Berry. Newbury, Dave. I'll get it later.
Yeah. Rushbury.
That's him. Thank you.
Yeah. Left back.
Decent player.
Don't worry, Wednesday. I'll help you out with that.
It's all right. Dave Rushbury were a left back, Paul the Biscuit.
Okay.
Yeah,
he went to play centre half for goal, but he was a left back.
Yeah, he was a nice. He
ended up as physio for Chesterfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tony.
Yeah, I did because my lad was there when he was there.
Yeah. So, Tony, your first game was Tottenham. When did you find out you were playing?
It would have been probably the day before, yeah. They normally put the team sheets up the day before. I'd played 4 matches in the reserves and I'd scored I was a striker then. Obviously, I'd scored. I think I got 2 in 3 matches, I think, and Paddy would have got the others. And then obviously he put me in instead of Mick Hill.
Yeah, Mick was a great lad. I used to be friends with Mick.
Yeah, he was a nice lad. Yeah.
So
no, it took John Harris a bit long to get me in the team, I thought, but there you go. Especially after I was prolific goal scorer at Watford. Well, I was for my first 6 games. I got 9 goals in my first 6 games, which is
wow,
probably a world record from first ever debut. I don't know. But then the goals dried up. I played the next 8 games without a goal.
Okay, but so you're in against Tottenham, and you scored possibly what turned out to be the winner.
Well, it was a second goal, 2-1. I got a second goal anyway.
Which end did you score it at?
I scored it at the Bramall Lane end, but there's a lot of people who said I was there on your debut scoring that goal at the Kop end.
I thought it was the Kop header.
Yeah.
I'm a Wednesday and I was there, Tony, and it were at Bramall Lane end.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This picture, Tony, is specifically for Keith Firminger to prove that you scored at the Bramall Lane end.
Yeah, that's
Right,
the John
Keith?
Street down in the back. Yeah.
And it was a
Stand in
head.
the back.
Yeah, across from the right wing, David Monks, and I sawed up and put it past Pat Jennings.
Yeah, Dave Monks, he was another good guy. I used to play football for his uncle, Bill.
Yeah.
So Tottenham, but it all went a bit pear-shaped that season, didn't it?
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, I can't remember where we were in the league when I first came, but
we were near the
obviously.
bottom.
Fourth from
Eh?
bottom. Fourth from bottom.
Were we? Oh,
Yeah.
So
well, yeah. I obviously I missed the next game, Leicester. John Harris had me in for an hour saying I'll get you a fast car after your wedding, blah blah blah, and I said no, I can't do that to her. And stuff like that. And anyway, I didn't play. We lost 3-0 at Leicester, so that didn't help.
but you were only 17, 18 at the time, weren't you?
Just 18.
Yeah, I remember. So,
Just 18.
so after that, though, the season after, you got cemented into the team and struck up the partnership with, I think, the player that you call the best player that you've ever played with.
Yeah, Woody, yeah.
Woody.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, I was still a striker in that year. I got 4 in 30. I only played 13 games from in the first season. We lost our last, I think we lost 5 out of the last 6 home games. The worst one being 2-0 up against Fulham at the Lane with 20 minutes to go. We managed to lose 3-2.
Many days.
And then Chelsea at the end of the last game of the season, Ozzy went round Alan Hodgkinson, and Hodgie's shouting out, "Miss it, Ozzy, miss it," and he's shouting back, "I can't." It was an open goal,
Yeah.
But, yeah, but I spent the next season as a striker, and I don't know, I can't remember how many I scored that year, but I don't think it was a lot. We had a bit of a disappointing season, and I was coming back into midfield, making more goals, and that was more or less the time that I said to John Harris, "Look, I think I can be a midfield player." So that's what ended up.
Right. So you struck up the partnership with Alan Woodward, and it was fantastic to watch. I mean, it was a great, when you went back up, it was a great season to be a United fan.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember.
that season and the one after, wasn't it? Obviously.
Yeah, yeah, the first 10 games.
Had John Harris, or the club at least, have invested in a few more players, we might have done something better, because we only had really a squad of 12, stretching to 13 perhaps, and I mean, and then after that, we were a weakened team if we had a couple of injuries.
Yeah, yeah. But so when you then went on to get the call up for England, so what was that like?
Well, fantastic. Getting in at 22 years of age. How old was I? I think just over 22. And obviously I played for the youth team, England youth, 3 games, 4 games, and then the under 23s. I got in the under 23s at 19 years of age. Played up front with Joe Royal because I was still a striker then, and then I played up until I was 23. I still played a few games for the under 23s, even when I was a full international. And Alf Ramsey gave me the captaincy, which was lovely. 3 or 4 games, which was lovely. And I think he had me in mind to go on and captain the full England team, because he put me aside one day and told me that, I want you to be, in this squad for whatever. And obviously he got the sack, and that was virtually, it was bad for me, because I perhaps could have got another 30, 40 caps at least at Alfred. He should never have got the sack. It was terrible.
No. I remember what I think was your best ever game for England. Which did you consider was your best game for England?
Well, Russia away, which was my second cap. That was a good game. I played well there. Got a good reports. England, Italy at Wembley. I had a great game. England, Brazil at Wembley. England, Brazil at Wembley. When I got back in the team after that, idiot Revie got the sack or walked out on England. England, Brazil. I got all the headlines for that one. So
that's the best thing I've heard you say, Tony. That idiot Revie.
Yeah. Well, he was. He didn't like me. He was horrible. He was just,
controversial.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he was a great manager for Leeds. He had a fantastic team. All the players under him would never have a bad word said against him. But, personally, he just didn't like the likes of me and Hudson and Worthington and Marshy and Bowlesy and Charlie George and people like that. I mean, he actually came up to us all after a training session. No match. It was a get-together, a training session down in Bisham, I think it was, Bisham Abbey. And he said to us all afterwards, we were in a semicircle, 6 of us. He said, "None of you figure in my plans, I'm sorry." And that was it. We all walked away. Couldn't believe it.
I thought you had a good game, Tony, in that game against Poland, when we couldn't score against that clown, as Brian Clough called him.
Yeah, I shouldn't say I forgot that one, but yeah, I will never forget that one.
You just couldn't score.
Yeah, I did have a fair game in that. I must have had about 7 or 8 shots, and I mean, we just ruled the game, and we just couldn't put the bloody thing in the net, could we? I mean, it was one particular save that he made from Clarkey when he did it on the half turn. Clarkey from about 7 yards. I mean, he knew nothing about it. He just flew to his left, put it past the post. Just unbelievable. We just couldn't. We knew then that it was out, but it was a terrible feeling after the game. It was very silent, and I think we all had depression for a couple of months after that. It was, we had get-togethers after that, obviously meeting up with the England team again, and we were all saying how down we've been for the last 2 or 3 months, you know. But
Yeah.
it was awful. But having said that, the only well, not a stroke of luck, but had we have qualified for the World Cup, I wouldn't have gone there because I had my cartilage out. Done it at Main Road, just running with the ball. Felt like I'd been shot. Cartilage went. I was out for three or 4 months, so I wouldn't have gone to the World Cup anyway.
Wow. So you moved on to Leeds United, to the dreaded, Dirty Leeds. It's known as round here.
Can we move on?
I cleaned it up.
Yes. Was Jimmy Armfield the manager at that time?
Yeah.
He seemed a good guy, Jimmy.
Lovely man, absolutely lovely man. I went to his funeral a few years ago, and but he started. Him and Don Howe was the coach. They were a great partnership. Don was the hard man, and he loved me. He was great for me, Don. And then Arsenal poached him. He doubled his wages. I think he was only on 8 grand, and he went on to 16 grand at Arsenal, if I remember rightly. And had we have not let him go, I'm sure Jimmy and him would have made us into a challenging team. But you know, that was the downfall of Jimmy when he went.
Yeah.
When Don,
What was your relationship with the following manager? What was that like with
the what
Adamson?
manager?
With Adamson. What was your
Adamson,
relationship
great.
with him?
Great, fantastic. Jock Steen as well. I mean, they all appreciated my play. And Adamson said to me once, when he first came, he said, I've got, he said, players like you, well, any player, I expect them to do 80% or above. You know, and I thought that was quite a clever statement, you know. And the other thing I remember about him was when I went in and I said, I've got to move, I've got to go back to London, and he said to me, they're going to lynch me. And he turned around into his drinks cabinet and he said, do you want a whiskey? He said, because I do.
Did you get the same adulation, Tony, at Leeds as what you got from the fans of Bramall Lane?
Yeah, I did, because about 2000 Sheffield United fans used to come and see me play.
That's true.
Yeah, no.
What, did you have to play in a different style?
No, I didn't. I changed. I don't think I just replaced Johnny Giles, and I thought I did a great job of replacing him. They were all still there apart from Johnny and Jack Charlton. All the lads were there. They all the famous, you know, squad. And
did they accept you all right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and the fans straight away. Yeah, and it was the same at QPR. They loved me there as well. So, you know. Yeah, well, I used to interact with the crowd, didn't I? I mean, that was my stage, and I could hear everything they were saying wherever I played, and I used to shout back or give the old double V signs, especially to the board of directors at Sheffield United. when I run off after the match, because I was annoyed with them because they, you know, the only reason I left Sheffield United was because they sold Jeff Salmons. Really, I mean, I signed this bloody 7-year contract in '73 when Man United were chasing after me, and because I didn't want to leave, but I was so annoyed. They told me, sign this contract, you know, naive Curry, sign this contract and we'll build the team around you. We'll get Francis Lee, we'll get Mike Summerby, I mean, who were good players still then, and blah, blah, blah. And then they get rid of Sammy, who was half the bloody team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I was disillusioned. Then, having said that, we had a great season in '74-5, nearly won the bloody league. I mean, little Sheffield United, crime.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Highest we've finished for since, Tony. We've never
Pardon?
finished higher.
No, I know, and
Another
Ollie
big-
Ollie Norwood thinks this might be the greatest team ever that Sheffield United's ever had, but
Right.
we'll see.
Nice.
Oh.
Let's see.
Well, he wouldn't be in it. That's controversial.
Can I
Well-
ask who was the toughest player you ever played against, Tony? The one that you thought, oh God, we got him on this weekend, you know, the one that always gave you a problem. Did you meet anybody like that?
Well,
Hunter?
obviously you've got the, you know, Ronnie Harris's who used to mark me,
Literally.
Tommy Smith, Souness, you know, Giles and Bremner, not so much. They weren't. I used to shout at Billy, "Come on, keep up, Bill."
Have you ever come against Morris Setters?
Peter Story.
I might have played against Morris Setters years ago. I mean, he was in at Stoke in about the late '60s.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I played my first appearance for Watford was the League Cup, and Gordon Banks was in goal, and I went on for the last 20 minutes, and that 20 minutes got me a match in the next match by Furphy. But that was my first appearance, and I went round Banksy. I went round Banksy, put it in the net. I went to put it in the net, and Marsh, the fullback, came across. I turned away. I thought it was in. Anyway, that got me debut in the league the next game. But whether Morris was playing that game, you might have to look it up. It was a League Cup at Stoke, 1967.
yeah. So
Hold on, I haven't mentioned the one. Peter Story. Peter Story was horrible. He used to man mark me. I didn't do too bad against him, but it was horrible to play against him because he just kicked and scratched and spit and pulled and everything, you know. And I've always named him as my hardest opponent. But looking back, I had some good games against Arsenal.
Especially
Yeah.
against Alan Ball.
Pardon?
Especially against Alan Ball.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've played a few games with Balling, but one of the loveliest men ever.
yes, yeah.
Lovely man. He took me under his wing for England in '72, and I replaced him after the. He got sent off in the Poland away game, and Lubanski got 2 goals, didn't he, in '72?
Yeah.
Late '72, Lubanski, but 2 Bobby Moore mistakes.
But you built up a rapport with Alan Ball over the sitting on the ball routine that you both did.
Yeah, well, like I said, he took me under his wing, and we used to go out and we'd have nights out and things like that in the England after an England game, and when we stayed over in London, and you know, whether it was a good thing or not, he used to take me out. Just we ended up in this club Candy Box, and he bought me this. He had me. I was drinking then. This bloody Southern Comfort. God, till 6 in the morning. Oh my God, I've never touched one since.
Lovely drink.
It was lovely going down, but the next morning, my head, dear me. So, never had it. But yeah, the sitting on the ball thing. I mean, he did it first. I mean, we were great mates, and he did it first, and I got my own back, didn't I? 2 years later, and then he said after the game, I'll get you back for that one, and he did. Ivory put his foot on the ball, undone his lace, done it back up again, and I just stood in front of him and clapped him again. No, I never got him back. Never got him back for that one.
Yeah.
The loveliest man, him and Bobby Moore, the 2 nicest blokes ever I've met.
Yeah.
Apart from Chris Hall, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
But they
I'll leave now with embarrassment.
football and Chris.
Eh?
So they're a bit better at football than Chris was.
Yeah, but they weren't as good at cricket as he was.
No, that's true. So, in your time, other than at United, who was the best player that you came across?
that I come across.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I sat and I went to Istanbul and Johan Cruyff was there.
Wow.
And he didn't play in the match. It was 100 years of General Ataturk, and it was 1981. Venables sent me over there. It was I'd never flown on my own before, and it was a nightmare. And I think it was 3 or 4 days in Turkey, and I was promised £1,000. I ended up getting this ring they gave me, and it was worth £1.5 grand when I got home. So that was a bonus. But yeah, I sat with Johan and he through dinner and had a great chat with him. He was a chain smoker, never stopped smoking, but lovely man. Obviously, I met Pele when he came over, but playing against Zico Rivellino at Wembley in '78, that was great. Zico just starting out, Rivellino just finishing. That was an experience. And me getting all the headlines the next day was fantastic. You know, Curry beats the Brazilians at their own game.
You see, do you remember that?
Yeah, of course I remember it. Yeah.
Was that on the day?
Yeah, he said, I remember you, Tony. And I said, no, you don't. You're loads older than me.
So you went on to QPR and did something that every schoolboy dreamed of doing.
Hey, none of that in here. Get ready to edit this.
That's leading your team out at Wembley.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good and bad experience. Everything I wanted to do, playing a cup final, every schoolboy's dream, and to lift the cup, obviously, meet the Queen at Wembley. That's what I always put down. Meet the Queen at Wembley. What do you want to do most in life? Meet the Queen at a cup final at Wembley. Well, it was Princess Anne, not too bad, but you know, great that I played in a cup final, 2 cup finals. But I mean, the first game, the ball's hit me inside of my leg when it was going straight at Peter Ucker, and who got man of the match that day, and so I deflected that one in the net, and then I gave the penalty away in the first 10 minutes of the replay. So, you know, not great memories. We should have lost the first game. Really, Tottenham were much better than us, but the second game we were better than them, and had it not been for the early penalty, you know. But I mean, I've never had any stick from QPR supporters, so.
No, I was there last season, and I think it was last season. They gave you a great reception.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. I mean, we went back 10 years ago. Would it have been 8 years ago? 1982 to 2012. And about half a dozen of the team turned up, you know, which was lovely. Bob Hazel, Peter Ucker, they were my great mate. They were me 2 of my roommates. They were me 2 roommates.
Yeah. So,
and, but I mean, to go back to the club that I started at as a 14-year-old, and they rejected me when I was 15, leaving school. They didn't think I was good enough, and you know.
Wow.
It was that was a big disappointment. One disappointment that I've had one of a lot of disappointments or setbacks that I've had in my life. Yeah.
Who was the person who motivated you in those days? Was it your dad or uncle or?
No, I never had a dad. I had a father, obviously, but he left home when I was 4.
Right.
I've never called him dad. He's father. I think the only thing he might have done for me was when I was 15 or 15 and a half, and I went to Watford, and I went as to work with the apprentices at Watford. You know, he didn't sign me as an apprentice at 16, but he well, 15 and a half it was. And he gave me sort of this 6-week trial that lasted 6 months. He couldn't make up his bloody mind. So I think my father must have said to him, because he was around at that time, because I've got a brother that was born in the same time, because he sort of came back and saw my mother on and off, not in the house, but she used to go and visit him at weekend. And then he buggered off again after the baby, my brother was born. I think he might have had a word with Furphy, either sign him or he walks, you know. I think that was then. Not QPR when I was 15. Anyway, I think that was then. So I signed at 16, and by the time I was 17, I obviously, you know, everything changed. I got better and better, and he signed me as a 17-year-old pro.
Yeah.
I'm round about my 17th birthday, and then a year later I'm at Sheffield United. So that was great. But one little story, on the day Furphy makes up his mind and I'm signing my apprentice forms, me and Mickey Packer, a great mate of mine, I see him a lot now. He was a junior at Watford, played most of his career at Colchester, still lives down there. We were washing his car, I was inside, and Mickey had the hose pipe, and he's hosing it down. And there used to be railings around the dog track, didn't there? You know, yellow railings. What we painted, by the way, we used to do everything. We never trained. If we ever trained, it would be if there was a practice match and we had to make up the reserves side. We never trained. We was always working on the ground, doing everything. If you can imagine everything, even cleaning out the toilets and everything. And so I'm in the car and the engine's on, and all of a sudden the bloody thing's gone backwards right into the railings. I've smashed his brand new Umber Scepter at the back. And George Aitken, the youth, what is he, the first team coach, he said, look, you'll have to go in and tell him. So, you know, me being, you know, shy and whatever, I went in, crept in, and I said, I'm sorry, I've smashed your car. He said, right. He said, when you play for England, I want your first cap. So he's took 6 months to bloody make up his mind, and then he's telling me I'll be playing for England one day. That was Firth.
And did he get your cap?
No, he bloody didn't. No, talking of Firth, when he died 4 or 5 years ago, I went into the chief exec at the time. Might have been that Brannigan bloke. I said, will the club pay for me and Liz to go down to his funeral in Torquay? So that was all right, you know, down on a train and back on a train same day. And do you know what? The funeral, and they loved him down there. He was a member of the yacht club, and it was great. But there was just me and Liz from Sheffield United representing us. There was 4 Watford fans with their scarves on behind me and Liz, and there was no other representative from either Workington, Everton, Blackburn, or wherever else he was, which I felt was bloody awful.
Right, yeah. Right, Dave.
Johnny, can't go without asking you about a certain Mr. Birchenall, which the press still like to show a certain photo and in the United programmes now and again.
Yeah, lovely man. Still speak to him now and again. The kiss thing. Well, it was in the penalty area at the Bramall Lane end, and we both went for a ball. I don't know whether we were attacking or defending, but we both we got a 10 out of 10 for a somersault. It was like synchronized somersaulting, and we both went over, and he just turned around. He said, "Gives a kiss, TC," and that's what happened. One photographer made a bloody fortune out of it.
And still making it.
We have done it 2 or 3 times since for charity, and well, it is bloody charity, not mine.
Right.
He got an MBE for all that.
Right.
He always says to me, he says, you were famed for all that and what have you. And he said, all I was ever famed for was the bloody kissing you.
Right, we're getting towards the end of the first session. Will you, Tony, on the second session?
Well, I said to Liz, I said, if you're not back for your walk, I'll carry on.
Yeah. So she's not back yet.
No, she's not back yet.
Yeah. Well, we have paid her to keep out.
You've paid to keep her out. My God. How the bloody hell did you do that? I can't do it.
Right. We'll end this session. Use the second link and come back. You can more or less come straight back on.